Hi. Hi everyone, thanks for coming to our session today. And today we have like four fantastic like builders in the space, especially focusing on AI and intelligence. So do you guys want to do a quick round of introduction, and then I will explain a little bit more around the discussion that we'll be like conducting today.
Hi, my name is Gaurav. I'm CEO of iRobot. I've been a builder for the last 20 years. First 8, 10 years was in operating systems, Linux kernel, file systems area. We moved to Amazon, worked there a few years, then eBay, and saw the growth in the Web3 space, moved to finance leadership side for a few years, and then saw the space overall in AI, where the gap was, where the builders were struggling, how a speaker before me very aptly said that there's a huge disparity where bigger players are becoming bigger and the startups are basically being taken advantage of by compute and AI intelligence. We are part of making a change in the industry and here, yes.
Thank you. Jiahao Sun, CEO and founder of Lock. We're a private AI solution builder, especially focusing on the areas where data cannot be shared, right? But we can still train a large model across all the different entities without needing them to give their data up. So we, especially working on data sensitive industries like healthcare, finance, public sectors, like we're partnered with UNDP as well, one of their AI strategic partners, pushing 20 of those strategic deployments of AI infra in 20 of those developing countries. So you will see lots of interesting announcements and interesting projects being pushed out through Frog platform.
Hi everyone, I'm Yijing from Kite. Kite is building a base layer for agentic internet. So we think it's not far away future, but it's actually happening is that AI is helping you to do many things, order, explore, and be your assistant. So I think the question remains is that how the agent can trust another agent, coordinate with agent, and most important, how an agent can pay another agent in a transparent way. So Kite is building this payment infrastructure that can facilitate agent-native internet.
Hi everyone, I'm super excited to join this panel. I'm Allan from MoDAO, a Web3 builder community based in Singapore. We started 4 years ago and they're supported by Bybit. The goal of MoDAO is trying to build a community to empower individual organization through like hackathon, educational content, or talent pools. So we create some products like Web3 community-driven courses and the talent pool, matching platform, and other launchpad that is still under development. Very happy to be here to talk about AI. Even I'm not technical guys, but happy to share more about this new community. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you for the round of introductions, and definitely like have seen you guys like very active in the current cycle. I have seen like Hide AI and Flug, and also like Allan and also like MoDAO in many of the conferences. You know, like sharing their opinions. Funny enough, I was just at the DNA house 2 days ago, and I was just like I happened to catch up with all the like the co-founders. They were sharing their vision and. They were sharing the practice they have been doing in the DAT in like sector especially. So one thing that I think like it definitely hit me is we're going to like tokenize everything, right? Tokenization is a very big topic, and with RWA, with like PayFi and everything, like that's a new shiny toy. Right now we're talking about like throughout KPW and now like in token 2049. So AI seems to be a little bit like or is AI actually like, a topic from yesterday? Is it like still the new shiny toy? What is the new topic right now? So as of today, like I would love to discuss about like how do we tokenize intelligence and what are your views on that? So my first question is, what do you think is the biggest like technical challenge in tokenizing an AI model, right? For instance, and is it like establishing verifiable provenance? Or accurately like determining its real-time valuation as its performance like changes. So do you want to start? Maybe we can start from there.
It's very challenging question for our community members. technically, I am not a technical person, but basically for this question, I think from a layman view, any technology can resolve some business problem, even like a hammer. And for AI agent, whether it can be tokenized, first, what you want to tokenize is agent, the whole business model, or even the inside the different data or API, whatever. So that's I think it, it's just technical things. But always think about technical things combined with business, then you can address it in a very balanced ways. For example, you need when you're talking about technical things, always think about whether I need to consider ROI. For example, the resolution of the technologies. If the environment or infrastructure is not there, you put too much effort to focus on technical things, then probably ROI is not there. For example, in the traditional way, we want to do the provenance, the KYC. You can probably collect a lot of data to prove this is the origination of this agent, but actually, sometimes you waste a lot of money just focus on two details. So always balance about proving of the originations and the accuracies. Also combine with the business. This I think is more fair to these questions. From my point.
Yeah, agree. I think on top of that, I think for challenges, both sides mentioned was I think that there are the challenges. So first, how to do the provenance and also the attribution. The other side, I think that the pricing itself is also a big question because when you tokenize, what is the fundamentals? If you have a real asset, so you use very classic model to calculate like a DCF or other multiple comps that model you can calculate. But if it's a AI module, if it also use as a new asset, I think it's hard. But on the technology side, I think the provenance attribution might be still the technical challenge. I think at the pricing side, it's maybe let's just give that to the market. Capital market will give you an answer based on how people will think about the value. So we also, because for our platform, we want to attract the good AI agent builders. Because if you want to build a great agentic network, you need both supply and demand side. On the supply side, you need a lot of the services that can be available, merchants available, the agent can search them. But most important, you need a very smart agent that can be built on top of it. Then people will start to use agent instead of they do a lot of things themselves. To incentivize those agent builders, you need to make sure that all the resources like data, module, compute, you can see the clear track, like which one you use and who make the attributions. I think that's relevant to this question. Like if you have an AI model, like when you tokenize that, it means that you can be monetized. Then who will be awarded? Is that just the model owner, or it should be everyone who do the contributions? Then if everyone do the contributions deserve that reward, how you can make the attribution transparent and in a fair way. So we are working on something called proof of AI. So first you need to track who made the contribution, and all the things need to be recorded on chain. I think that's some challenge we're still working on is the weight of the contribution. So for example, the data side, you have many data contributors who actually made the contribution, made the input. But when you train the module, maybe the weighted impact from different data contributor is very different. There's some of them will maybe they just contribute 100 data, but actually they have much higher weight in terms of the influence the model. So that's still a very challenging part we are working on. But I think that's actually the critical part. If you really make this attribution provenance fair and transparent.
Cool. I think a very important part when it comes to the AI and why people use the AI, right? It's mainly because of the adoption and the reason why they need to use it. Because if everything's just good, decentralized AI, then there's no reason that I have to use an AI product, right? I can send everything through API to someone, some server located in SF, like someone behind from your screen can see everything of my secret, and that's a red flag, right? So if there are scenarios where such centralized AI solution cannot reach you, for example, your personal assistant, for example, your girlfriend, that you don't want anyone else to know the chat history or whatever that you've been stored there, then that's a scenario where AI has to be the solution there. That's a daily life scenarios, but there are more serious scenarios like healthcare, like finance, right? Also cases where different entities cannot share any data, and even within the same entity, that data cannot be shared between different entities, right? So we had our first, actually maybe one of the world's first initiative together with Asian Labs, which is a drug discovery company set up by two professors from Korean University, where we actually do this drug discovery collaboration between Korea, UK, and Hong Kong together. That's probably the first in the world that can actually run this drug discovery AI model without needing to worry too much about the data leak and the data compliance issues between different countries. Because otherwise you have to be strong as Google, who controls all the data, right? But you don't want to do that. Every country wants to have their own algorithm, own model to run their own drugs. So that's where the AI can fit in.
I think the question was between the prevalence and the evaluation piece of the model, which is more bigger. I think the prevalence part, both are interesting problems, but in reality, the prevalence part is a solved problem already, right? Like, who's the author of the model, auditability part, this is like cryptographic signatures, there are Web2 products from Adobe, blockchain products. So this particular piece is already a solved problem for many years. The valuation part of the model is a much more trickier problem to solve. Because model itself is not static, it's a living organism. Like, I create a model today, let's say for finding the best stock in the market, right? Now, it was doing a great job till yesterday. If I don't feed that model data of yesterday and today, it will not perform better tomorrow. So it has to be constantly fed a new source of data. And whenever you feed the model a new set of data, anything can go wrong. The data could be having biases, it could be incorrect. So as a part of that, the model may perform worse than what it was doing yesterday. It may become slower. There's so many problems. And you see today also, for example, there are image creation models. And there are 10 companies in Web2 and 50 in Web3 which say we are the best in the world. Who is saying they're best in the world? There's no standard there. Right? So the valuation piece is always trickier. And I think the future would be, you'll see slowly and steadily the oracle for the prices of the models also getting created. And they'll have multi-facets out there. Response time, like time to first token, performance, the metric of performance. I think all those things will evolve. And between the two, the second one, which is valuation, is much more trickier. The solutions don't even exist. The first one is kind of solved.
100% agree. I think like it's definitely one of the like biggest like challenges as like all of you like have really shared. I think like the data ownership too is like really big part, right? Like especially when we see like the reason why we're utilizing like decentralization to help like AI, and also I think like the second biggest like part is how do we actually verify the quality of like data points? And I think like especially right now, people are coming in mainly like it's the elephant in the room, right? People coming into Web3 because they want to make money and they want to be incentivized. So a lot of these users right now, especially like on AI, is basically coming in for the incentivization and for the reward. So probably the quality of data is varied between like different markets. So, but still, I think like incentivization is the first step into like encouraging more for user adoption. My second question is like probably for all of you, I think like majority, like half of you like have already launched your own token, and maybe like Aileen, and I'm not sure about like DAO, if there's any like a token play. But like from a capital perspective, like how can tokenization attract broader investment into AI models, and what novel tokenomic structure are needed to align the incentives to strike the balance of the model creators, investors, and also the end users? I think it's a very interesting topic.
Well, tokenization, I think, start from 2015, since Instagram emerging in the space, can help a lot of stories. I mean, I see here a lot of narratives being tokenized, but there's no sustainable value, majority of them, no sustainable value to support the tokenizations. And recently we see RW stablecoin again. Then today we're talking about agent and where they can be tokenized. Definitely tokenization is very attractive because of the fractional ownership can really lower the barrier for the liquidity coming. A lot of potential retail users to participate. That's beautiful part of tokenizations. But the problem is whether you can build a sustainable tokenomics to support your project, even the agent itself, how to balance the stakeholder between creators, investors, and the users. Because all of these stakeholders, if you don't find the value exchange through the tokenomics, then potentially it doesn't work. You get tokenized, you get a launch, but you also get speculation and crash. So the challenging part is how to design tokenomics and really incentivize your ecosystems. But there's no optimized tokenomics can apply our different scenario. So even agent itself, I believe they have their own stakeholders, users, and contributors. But fundamentally, I think need to find a neutral way, and also need to be open for evolving, especially the participant can really governance and contribute and really have the control, not be manipulated by central node. So that's the essential design. So every like central bank, they have their own ecosystems. I believe that agent itself also like token issuer, they need to understand he is a central bank of this ecosystem. How to from micro view to adjusting, that's very challenging.
Yeah, I think it's interesting question. We are also exploring and actively finding the answers. I think at a high level, we can think about what is the general project building their tokenomics. So we need some of the tokens allocated to early contributors. We need the token allocated to community and ecosystem. To incubate them, and we need some tokens allocated to the investors who support us. I think for at a high level for those AI model, it can model tokenization it be similar principle. You need the team to build that. So you are allocated to team. You need the capital at the beginning to start everything from scratch. So maybe some VC and early investors. Of course, the model has a lot of contributors from data compute side and also the model builder themselves. So I think that they need to allocate it to the contributors. The tricky part is first what is the ecosystem and the community for AI model? Is that it's actually different than if you're layer one. It's very easy for you to say, hey, this is the project I want to incubate. So for the AI model, if it's tokenized, who is your community? Who is your ecosystem? Who you will incubate if you have the fund? I think in this part, I also want to hear that all the speakers here, like, what's your thoughts? Another part is, so when you have all those tokenomics, and then assuming that today it was listed publicly, then how the valuation system to measure the true value about the AI model. So if you are a layer one project, you have some very clear matrix like a TVL, for example. If you are a protocol level project, you might be measured by your revenue. So for AI module, what is the best way to measure the value matrix? I think that's another question. Yeah, I just leave this question for discussion maybe, because I think it's very interesting, but it's very early stage. Yeah.
As a team who already have our token, I think there are many easy solutions to having AI DI project with a token, which incentive can be one important thing. that bring value to the contributors of whatever important into the AI triangle, which is model, data, and compute. Right? I think we all understand in one of these angles, and then maybe Kite is more on the application layer for the payment side, but it's within the same circle. But then differences is maybe for Flock, we focus more on the utility side as well, so not just incentive for the contributors, it's also a mechanism for the whole Flock ecosystem. The paper that we published 3 years ago, and one of the best paper awards in most of the top AI conferences, and also granted by Yijing Foundation, by the way. So it's not only just using government incentives, but also it's a way of governance to prevent people from being malicious to an open system. So if you're building a system that's open, there's no central governance of the nodes and no central governance of the training mechanism, right? You need to have a system to prevent malicious attacks, because obviously if it's open source, there will always be people trying to be scammy, you're trying to get somebody, steal somebody out of the token. So having the token itself is a very important part of our design, so that there's a risk of people being slashed out, and then the cost of being able will be bring up high. So we will have a greatly safer mechanism in terms of the AI training, which generally like the early days of the EVM strategy, EVM design of the tokens. So yeah, that's the thing that I think will be super important. So not only just incentive for everything, which is an easy play, right? Having a token and making it more of the governance part of the play will also be a important advice. Let's say talk to other projects.
I think token and tokenomics are like the superpower which a builder has. And a lot of times I've seen two extremes. The builders who are here to basically build and they don't focus at all on tokenomics. And there are people who just come in Web3 just for tokens. No tech, right? And I think somewhere in the middle is a perfect balance. Because like God's been great to us. We were able to make the biggest decentralized platform as a part of IO. We have billions of dollars worth of hardware with us, exponentially increasing revenue. And we were able to do it just because I think the community, your token is kind of a community funding, right? Like a lot of times you go to VCs to raise money, although tech is there, the product is there, until the numbers make sense to them, even if your product is good for the community and humanity will not invest. Right? On the other hand, in Web2 side also you have community funding. Tokenomics and tokens are one of the things where you do two things. You first raise community funding. You get testing also from the same guys. Like for example, when we created this IONET as decentralized infrastructure platform, like we have hundreds of data centers connecting to us. Honestly, if we would have done it on the Web2 side of things, we would have been able to, we should have raised hundreds of millions of dollars from VCs to create this network. Then even after creating the network, to get to your network tested from a normal users would have been at least a 2-year journey. In Web3, the superpower is this community people gives you the valuation, they feel you're doing real tech, they believe in the cause, and they help you testing the product also. So never ever take it for granted, right? This is one of the best things. You need to have a bootstrap of the product, that's one. And I think we focused it on a lot and paid a good dividends. The second piece is that when you basically tokenize your product, how can you give it back? I think the main thing is a lot of times people accrue the value as a project but don't give it back to the people who invested in your cause, be it in form of sharing the revenue or buying back or burning and all. I think now you see very recently all the projects for Mint Money doing it. Sooner rather than later the market matures, and that's what you're seeing. I think that's one way straightforward you can do it. That people who believed in your cause, they invested in you. Now when you're making money out of the investment they did, give it back to them as a part of the revenue or a buyback or a burn or whatever. That's one way of doing it. The second is governance, obviously, right? They believed in you. Now you have a cause. Now if you're trying to shape up the future of the company, they must have a say in it. They must have a say in it, right? That's the second way of doing it. And I think the other question was how you define the value. I think the value is defined for a model is what was your cause. If basically you were here in the market saying that you will basically bring the cost of the AI consumption to the lowest, then you should be basically making a margin value on your whole runway of the company so that you can keep running the company forward, right? A bit more, but making sure the whole ecosystem grows, the whole AI company will. That's one. But if your value of the company always was that I'll make the maximum profit, then you value it even more, right? And the market forces will dictate what's there. I think that's the way I take a look at it. You basically went to, especially if it's for a token project, you went to the community, sold them something. You have to keep on the same path. And a lot of time what happens is, once your PG is there, once the money is in, people lose their path. And I think that's where the trust in the project also goes away. As long as you have the governance aspect, you follow to the word what you communicate to people, I think things are fine.
100%. Like as a relatively younger builder in the space, I entered crypto in the end of like 21 and recently like built my own startup last year. I think like I have been receiving a lot of advice from experienced builders like yourselves. They've been telling me like after you launch a token, that's when the real work starts. That's when the real build starts. So I think like definitely like after taking the hit of like a TGE or when there's like a large like launch party, how do you keep continually like build your capital and stable your like token price? I think that's like the real challenge for every single like serious builders, obviously not the rough ones, right? We know so many of them. But my next question would be like, platforms like IO.net and also like specialized like AI protocols are essential infrastructures. I think like we're all infrastructures here in the panel. And what specific protocol features are needed to ensure that AI models, once tokenized or like future tokenized, can be securely and also efficiently used in a decentralized compute environment?
I believe in creating the highways where these models can run, perform, and be fruitful to the whole humanity. That's what our main vision is. So I think one is obviously the trust and security. I think people come to Web3 because they want that openness, that trust factor, that what they're consuming is actually what they think they're consuming, which is not the case in the Web2 side. I was actually giving an example to somebody outside that you pay $20 to ChatGPT to basically use the biggest model which they have. How do you know that you're using the biggest model they have? Like, genuinely. You ask a question in English, it gives you an answer in English, right? Their lower model also does it. How do you know that basically you're using topmost model? You just don't. You just don't. You just trust them that, yeah, you're paying $20, they'll be doing it, obviously. That trust factor should be there, right? That's one. Second is security piece. Like people are more and more into it. Like, especially in Asia, we never cared about personal data that much. Western world was like much further in that. I think now in the Asia side, also people are kind of catching up, right? So security of your data, what you're sharing, that becomes equally important. The pricing part becomes very, very important. And the fourth piece is overall is how do you create tokenomics and incentives in a way that Web3 basically wins in a big way. And I've lived this life and not in a good way. So I used to work in HPR India around 15 years back. I was in HPR in the operating system. We were minting money. Bonuses were coming left, right, and center. Life was great. And suddenly a guy like one named Linus Torvald come in, he creates a vision of an open source project of Linux. And suddenly there are thousands and thousands of developers who are working for him for free at night time. For free. They can be paid $500,000 at night time while they're working. And that time, 15 years back, $500,000 was big money. And people are working for free for him. And like sooner or later, the whole operating system market crashed. Today, the reality is even the Microsoft operating system guys in their server side, in some form of use Linux. That's the kind of maturity it has. How we can bring the same culture in Web3. And I think we have the power of tokenomics, and that's where we are headed. That you basically create incentives for people from Web2 also to come in Web3, create models, and get incentives in terms of tokens to build it. And then the second phase we will be coming in the coming year is to create a protocol oracle similar to ERC20 has done to DeFi, that they have created a standard. Create a standard in the AI models, which create a standard for everyone that if they're good globally, not 5 players standing up and saying, I have a best image creation model. No. There's a standard there. Are you meeting that, right? And if you're meeting that, then you're best. Depending on that, you get incentives. And then creating a standard that every time you make a specific tech or a model better by that delta, you win more incentives. Otherwise, people can just come, create a model, earn some money, move on. But if they have an incentive that every time you improve it by delta, you get more incentive, then the biggest developers of Web 2 will also come in Web 3. They build something and they'll have incentive to keep coming back and back. I think that's what we are investing in.
Oh, yeah. I'm a believer of decentralization, and that's the reason why we build decentralized AI. And in the early days, that we actually decentralize our network enough so that we have a great group of engineers, trainers that all from all over the world. We have like so within the Kaggle is like the top AI training platform in traditional world. In their top 100 Kaggle master list, there's at least tens of those masters already on Flock platform. So this is our way to basically decentralizing the power to de-risk the issue that you mentioned about the protocol risks, right? So if you have a decentralized enough protocol, then even more to nodes that's getting in danger, that the whole network is still stable, especially in AI training, right? You don't want this false positives. You don't want these wrong labels to be messed around in your final model evaluation. So having enough people when training one huge model, that's going to be super important. And we're making our efforts, and there's quite a lot of high value engineers, high value validators, high value nodes that's now running on our network, which I think is the key for any of the protocols who want to reach the full decentralization stage.
I think so the question is that when we have tokenized the AI module, what is the best environment? So I think on top of the two speakers, I think insights, there's two more things we're thinking about. One is that because it's tokenized, the people care about the incentives, and then how to do the fair distribution about the incentives. I think that will be the key, because you will see this tokenized AI module now have the value or the on the market. So then the people who already contributed will always speculating that what is my shares. So that's actually something will be very important when we apply those incentives, that there's a mechanism, a new consensus mechanism that will help with to track not only the ownership but the attribution in a fair way. The other things is this is our experience that I think that the AI workflow is different than the DeFi and the other traditional blockchain workflow. So there needs some customization about the blockchain itself. So for Kite, we run the testnet since the February. So we see that sometimes it has very high peak of like millions of the inferences agent-to-agent call that's on our testnet. So we have to do some scalability optimization in order to handle the workflow. And this workflow is different than the DeFi workflow. So it's more about agent talk to the backend data compute, and also when they talk to each other. So the scalability need to have something change in terms of the settlement and also on the finality layers. So I think that's another thing, that you need a AI specified or customized blockchain to handle the big workflows from this specific AI to AI interaction.
For my point of view, how the AI should focus in the future, I still think about China, the Vietnamese many years ago, security, scalability, and decentralization. So first, security. Yeah, since we believe this Web3 or decentralized apps because of the security, some data will be manipulated by central organizations. So we promote this spirit. Even the AI is supposed to protect our data privacy and not be easily manipulated. This is number one, security. I believe a lot of analysts already mentioned about it. Another is scalability. Since infrastructure like IO.net play a role like infrastructure, like a bridge. So we also need this bridge can be accessible. Accessible means a lot of people can access. It's a Web3 spirit, so decentralization. Number three is scalability. So many people come to the bridge, you don't have good performance to make sure the demands, then you potentially get challenging as well. You cannot consider as public infrastructures. So how as AI or the apps need to always consider these three dimensions, but how to balance it because it's trilemma. Yeah, that's my opinion.
Thank you. I think like basically one of the other elements that I feel like decentralized AI is like so attractive aside from like maybe like potentially owning the models or owning your own personal data, but I think like it's also going through the AI borders, right? Like if you look at some of the large language models, ChatGPT is not available in many countries outside of within Asia. And you know, like if you look at DeepSeek, you know, it was a massive wave, and now I think like it's also banned or you know like locked in many of the countries. So my next question is like definitely, you know, as a heavy topic, we have been talking about institutional, you know, involvement coming into the crypto sector, coming to blockchain like quite, you know, heavily. How does like looking forward, what does the regulatory like landscape need to look like to safely really support the trading of AI model tokens? And which specific type of AI intelligence, like for instance, like at Nara, we're building agentic for trading, and we're also quite creative as well. So is it like the predictive market, creative, you know, like user-generated AI content, or agentics, like where we can own an agent token, will be the first to gain significant global liquidity as an asset class to break through, say, the mass adoption? Do you want to get started?
So the regulatory things are very complicated. Like God only knows in which country they're trying to include what are there. But there are three which are fundamental and which I also feel should be taken care of when the regulations come in. So one is the IP. Obviously, if I'm a creator, my IP should be taken care of. That's one. Second, obviously, as a user, if I'm using a particular model or any AI and I'm sharing my intimate details of the model, my data should be safe, should be private. That for sure should be there. That's two. And the third thing is, as a builder or as an investor, by tokenizing or whatever, right? The other ways of doing it, right? Is that my money as a tool of investment and as a builder, the money which I'm owed, that should be taken care of. I think those three things are fundamental. So security, the data IP, and the monetary part. I think those are three which are fundamental. In terms of the predictive and others, I think it's just an opinion. Like, it's my opinion. Like, it's not that anybody else's opinion. It's opinion, right? But I personally feel predictive would come first because as humans and as builders, investors, entrepreneurs, we normally do things in terms of ROI. Right? We just don't do things always. We do sometimes not always in terms of just we like it. Like we do things, okay, what will you get out of it, right? Especially when you come to the corporate world, anytime they put an investment, they want to see what will be the ROI part of it, right? As of today, the predictive models are the one where you have a clear metric to basically gauge this particular model is performing to a level which I want, and whatever money I'm investing as a business, am I getting that money or even more as a result of it? So that part is very, very clear. It's like, it's a fact, right? So predictive models will come first, will become more popular first. Once that piece is proven and people use it in an entrepreneurial sites, I think then it's just a narrative thing where the money flows in and where the standards come first. It could be your image side of things, generative way of things, like only builders know or God knows where the money will flow in. But as of today, what I can guess is predictive conversion because of the ROI piece.
Yeah, we only have 2 minutes, but I'll just be quick. Like I personally very interested in the UGC content, especially nowadays. Like Zora launched Zora 2 yesterday, right? The contents are all everywhere. Yeah. I think in terms of mass adoption, it's always something that have the accessibility or related to the topic that can go mass adoption first. Like in the early days, ChatGPT had an app, right? That's the first time people can just chat with an AI instead of needing to pull together Excel of the price or whatever columns and then to do the prediction. Because that's a bit harder. That's for data scientists, but not everyone's data scientist. So I'm a natural human. I talk with bot. I'm a natural human. I want to generate a video that has Sam Altman's face doing whatever. So yeah, that's one thing.
Okay, let me just think bold and add one more candidate to that promising list. So for us, because our angle right now is focusing on the agentic e-commerce, so we think this is the biggest portal that can replace the human and the internet interaction. So in the future, your agent will help you to do a lot of shopping orders. So we think that's the reason I added that into the list is because I think that will be one of the unique opportunity to bridge the mass adoption about the Web2 consumer user to using blockchain, because agent will need to have the blockchain to pay another agent. So in terms of the model, it might be some scenario-driven chat model. So for example, there's one like large language model, but very specifically good at the shopping. Because I think it will be very easy to see the fundamental value behind when we say, hey, this is the critical module that will connect the master users to using blockchain.
Back to the question, it's quite challenging because autonomous driving used to face the same problem when you want to launch, you always face a lot of compliance issues. And then back to agentic AI, I believe they're also facing some similar problem. But with the regulatory evolving, a lot of cross jurisdiction issues could be addressed by the RegTech. And back to the type of the agent AI prediction, I think probably get more promising. Of course, payment as well, because for prediction is not make just for your reference. It won't be really affect any materialized result, but for some like a generic AI, probably some IP issues. Then what's the last agent you mentioned?
Prediction and agentic.
Agentic, yeah, agentic basically they try to replace you to do something. The thing probably like driving the car or pay some bill, or this potentially has some need more validation or compliance.
I'm not sure if I am comfortable for my agent to do my personal shopping yet, because I have a very specific taste. But definitely we could do some prediction today, and then maybe next year at this time we come back to this panel and let's see if agentic can actually help us to place our orders. But thank you so much for a fantastic session today for discussions. I definitely got a lot of inspirations from all of you. Probably last we take a group photo, and then that's it for today. Thank you all for listening as part of the panel.